Cześć, z tej strony Keepera W, witam i zapraszam Was na powrót do serii retro gier. Dzisiaj będzie gra Dungeons 2, czyli spadkobiercy jakby Dungeon Keepera. I to jest jakby ta pierwsza udana część tej odświeżonej jakby koncepcji Dungeon Keepera, Dungeons 2, która jako jedyna część, jako jedna z tych pierwszych części jakby odświeżenia tego pomysłu działa. I dzisiaj planowałem przejść dwie pierwsze misje, ale... Tak, jak to mówię właśnie, że jako absolutne zło mamy. Siłę mamy pozbyć się przejść nas ze stolicy. A tak to jest głównie, że to jest jakby Dungeon Keepera, czyli gry bardzo starej, jako zarządzanie lochów. Dwójka była lubiana bardziej, jedynka była bardziej taka toporna, ale dwójka bardziej gdzie grały. To jest jakby próba przez inne, to jest jakby przez Skype'a próba jakby odtworzenia tego pomysłu, z czego druga część jest bardziej udana, trójka też jest. Czwórka ujdzie, ale bardziej dwójka czy trójka jest bardziej lubiana Dungeonsów. Dobrze, to przejdźmy do pierwszej misji, potem drugą. Tak krótko, retrospekcji jeszcze. Teraz cutscenka.
Where the sun shone all the time and there was loads of that goody, lovey-dovey good people stuff going on. There, the alliance of abominably good people lived in unearned wealth and prosperity. But there was a path leading to a different place there. At the end of this path was a rock. There was a cave carved in this rock in which the absolute evil lived. It wasn't a grubby, damp cave smelling of muck and mildew, but a deep, dark dungeon, so dark that even darkness itself was afraid of it. It was home to numerous innocent monsters who enjoyed a happy, contented existence, living in complete harmony with their environment. But time and again, the sickening, sweet-smelling good visited this underworld in search of treasure and experience points. Many monsters found this to be the death of them, but much more new, something quite monstrous. Go to the surface.
No. Ja nie wiem jak mi kurde
The Alliance tried to resist, but the approaching horde just flowed over them like an angry wave of axes, teeth and bad breath. After numerous unrelenting battles, the absolute evil finally stood before the Alliance's capital, King's Ending.
No, w 2011 mówią, że na pytach była w 2015 jest rozkryta, a w 2017 jest trójka. Tak, to jest ten właśnie wąt walki na powierzchni, co jest tutaj części bardziej. W tej drugiej części wprowadząca w trójce jest i w trójce, tak, to jest w kolejnych częściach. Trochę tak, lepiej się czułem na razie zgubieni, więc zagrywam, mówię, że wrócę do tej serii retro.
Stones burst asunder, revealing an ancient path into the depths. Out of the depths of Stygian darkness arises the invincible evil. With earth-shaking steps, the unstoppable evil began its trek towards
Tak, i to właśnie zmienianie.
In the terribly improbable event that if you've forgotten how that works, a formidable help function has been provided.
No to szybko będzie.
Even the forest could not withstand the aura of the ultimate evil, and Peter is to retreat.
No, dzisiaj dwie misje bardziej te początkowe, bo...
A determined absolute evil marched towards them in order to strike them down with its mighty
bardziej myślę, że... Nie wiem, czy przyszedł o tym, czy kompa agresywnie zrobić i właśnie... Dlatego tak.
The absolute evil had discovered a medal. These legendary awards ensured a creature could be made even more powerful. Only one downside, the creature could only wear one.
No.
Eyes ablaze with greed, the insidious evil gazed upon the blood-drenched battlefield. Here the last defenders of good would die, and an age of evil begin.
No robić to, no. Zaraz dobrze to właśnie. To jest to są też pierwsze swoje programy powiem bardziej, czyli naszym opętanym
But the
milionem.
Horde's fighting skills were at their best in darkness, if they survived. The forces of good never had a chance against the absolute evil. The absolute evil destroyed the defenders' camp in the east with the greatest of ease. Now, only one tiny camp offers any resistance to the absurdly evil evil. And even that will be able to hold out for much longer.
No rozwalmy te.
The absolute evil destroyed the defenders' camp in the west with the greatest of ease. The defenders in front of the city had been beaten to a pulp and defeated. Now the time had come to attack King's
O,
Ending.
no ale
Final
orki.
battle.
No.
The city gate was firmly barricaded by the Alliance's archers, but the absolute evil would not allow itself to be held up by such ridiculous impediment. So, go get them! Destroy them now!
Tak, ja przyjmuję, że jest jeszcze za zniszczenie.
The absolute evil used its all-powerful magic to eliminate the archers and open the gate to the city. Using its legend, wait for it, daring power. The absolute evil destroyed the impediment with ease and simultaneously eliminated a whole group of defenders. The road to the capital was now clear. The absolute evil did not hesitate for even 1 nanosecond. The insidious evil entered King's Ending. A small, pitiful group of defenders stood in its way. The invincible evil had crushed the defenders. King's Ending had been defeated.
Dwójka była jeszcze na płycie, a trójka była elektronicznie sprzedawana. Czwórka tak. W 2009 była pierwsza odsłona na płycie.
The final heroes of the Alliance
A
emerged
dwójka była w
from
11 na
nowhere.
płycie.
Another
Dana.
ambush.
Ale
Now,
w
this
sumie
was
bardziej,
becoming
a
very
15
boring.
jest
But wait,
aktualnie z tym.
this time it was different. Instead, the heroes raised their hands and started singing an incomprehensible chant.
Tak,
A magical ritual?
proszę, będzie zemsta.
This did not bode well. Well, actually, it bode the arrival of good things, great things, unless you happen to be the
Yeah.
absolute evil.
Była
Once
pierwsza
the
to.
ultimate evil had somewhere in the depths of the dungeon, the ultimate evil awoke.
Tak.
It did not know what had happened, nor why it had awoken, but it longed.
Tak, bo to jest zemsta. To
The
zniszczenie.
last remaining heroes of the country joined forces and cast a powerful banishment
Ja
spell.
też to ma humor. Też to
The
jest
absolute evil disappeared from sight with a threatening gesture, and a faint whispered, "I'll be back," could be heard coming from its lips. The absolute evil had been banished, and its essence shattered into several pieces. Its reign of terror had ended.
Tak.
The good people of the overworld
no,
rejoiced, and an era of peace began for the Alliance. The evil creatures were driven back into the underground, doomed to serve as cannon fodder for pleasure-seeking adventurers. Meanwhile, secreted away in the world's most inaccessible places, the last remains of the absolute evil were resting, never again to see the light of the overworld. Until today, that is. Somewhere deep under the earth, the ultimate evil awoke.
Tak, czy jesteśmy jakby jednym z tych fragmentów, bo są 3 fragmenty. Drugi jest wyrwany, trzeci jest nieumarły bardziej. No, my jesteśmy takim jakby hordą, czyli jakby to nie jest.
And the hand of terror arose, controlled by the ultimate
W całej
evil.
kampanii jest to właśnie ta nic niż to są te dwa bardziej.
Come on, hand of terror, arise, damn you!
A, jest horda i
He thinks that exploring the surrounding area would be a sensible strategy. However, to do this, light would be required.
A wreszcie dochodzi jeszcze do numeru.
Still not bright enough. An old throne room was revealed by the light.
Tak.
The
Jeden co to
circumstances
ten limit.
remained a mystery. The hand of
Ale
terror flew
jakoś
through
trzeba
the throne
przeżyć z tym, a
following
coś
each and
jest
every
dużo
thought, the ultimate
nie jest
evil.
za takie duże pieniądze.
After a few flying sessions, the ultimate evil was able to control the hand with ease. The time had come to call forth creatures who were completely
tutaj
devoted
siedzi
to
mylę
it and
bardziej.
would do its dirty
W
work.
formie
Little snots were the dregs of each and every dungeon and spent their time taking care of it. The expansion-mad evil hired one snot on the spot. The first little snot appeared. It was completely ready to work in the dungeon and to crawl in the dust.
To gdzie mamy kopać właśnie, bo to jest to.
Little snots were important to the ultimate evil because they took care of many important little things, such as excavating new areas. The psionically gifted evil could sense the presence of something important that was buried to the south. It instructed its little snots to dig in that direction. As quick as a fart, the little snot made his way to the marble position and began to dig.
Tu masz kopać. Zazwyczaj się te żyły złoto zaznacza i dlatego.
Behold, the creatures of the overjoyed evil had apparently been much more industrious than it had thought. A great dungeon was revealed behind the wall. Everything was already in place. Doors, traps, a well-filled treasury. But wait, treasury? And where, if you please, is this treasury? Oh well. One can't expect too much of these mindless little snots. First of all, some gold had to be dug out to make space for a treasury to be created. The hand of terror swiftly marked a few small gold veins so that the little snots could excavate them. As
Tak,
soon as
gorzej
the
jak się
gold
zaznaczą
vein
się
was
te
collected, the
drugie.
little snot immediately set out to mine valuable gold for the greedy evil.
Kopać tu, bo tu będzie skarbiec. Można takie zachować, że można wykopać nie w tym miejscu, z czego to złoto już tu będą małe, tu będzie główny, licząc jeszcze o dwóch pożarciu, jeszcze bardziej o alkoholu, bardziej na alkoholu. Tak, no będzie miał.
Once most of the gold had been mined, the Hand of Terror quickly created a treasury on the spot so that the precious metal could be safely stored. The clever evil mastered this task with flying colors. From now on, little snots could use the treasury to store mined gold. It was then at the greedy evil's disposal whenever more rooms needed to be built or new creatures recruited. Little snots were all well and good, but were too weak and cowardly to defend the dungeon. Since it was not able to defend itself, the ultimate evil would have to hire some orcs. But they would require food. Liquid food. Well, beer to be precise. So the next important thing to build was a brewery. And that would require some space to be created. The ultimate evil had the feeling that its servants were not really putting their backs into the work. Might a hearty slap from the Hand of Terror change that?
Świetnie organ jesteśmy. Sięga. Lubię kopać strasznie, przynajmniej będzie. Nie, żeby te żyły były. Starać mamy tu bardziej te 3 żyły i tą jedną rozbudać może bardziej, ale nie to. Tak, tutaj jest słychać dobrze. Patrzę, że tą cutscenkę właśnie nie.
There was now an area cleared for the brewery site, and with quick finger snaps from the Hand of Terror, the room stood ready. Excellent. But the recently built brewery lacked a brewing copper. With a sigh of resignation, the overworked evil set about taking care of that too. The hard-working evil effortlessly built a brewing copper so that delicious beer could be brewed as soon as possible. One of the little snots started working on the brewing copper. The nostalgic evil banished all thoughts of Oktoberfest and brass bands. Those would have to wait. More important tasks had to be completed first. Both beer and gold were now available in the dungeon, so it was time to hire some creatures to defend against greedy heroes or whatever else snuck around underground. At present, it was only simple orcs declaring undying loyalty to the ultimate evil. The rest of the horde was scattered to the winds. Orcs were defensive close combat specialists, capable of dealing with many opponents. However, they were very vulnerable to ranged attacks.
Niech idzie. Mam brumidzi, ale... O, ściany z mocnej podobnie.
It's payday. An eerie gong rang through the hall. It did not bode well for the ultimate evil's treasury stocks, for at each sounding of the gong, the creatures would collect their undeserved wages. However, there was little it could do about this, as it was chained to the throne. Thus, it had to give free rein to its servants' desires, for the time being at least.
No teraz hajs, żeby się zgadzał. A potem kopać te gliny, niech mają tu. Albo każdą możliwą żyłę złota już.
The dungeon of the expansion-mad evil grew and prospered, but unfortunately, it had reached the maximum possible population it could currently manage. Now a creature would have to be thrown into the bottomless pit before any others could be brought in. One louse-infested orc crawled up from the depths and declared allegiance to the ultimate evil. The first step towards the creation of a powerful army had been taken. The nameless evil creatures came upon a spider's nest during their search for an entrance to the overworld. It would take more than one orc to smoke that out. The abysmal evil used the Hand of Terror to grab several of the creatures that were still completely inexperienced at fighting and threw them onto the spider's nest. The profound evil had had enough of dungeon sightseeing and now wanted to move to the surface to try a dish that is best served cold. Revenge. Some Alliance members were bound to be guarding the entrance to the overworld. A fine appetizer for a vengeful evil. The spiders dropped like flies. The strategically well-versed evil patted itself on the back, proud that it had led its troops into battle with such a throng. And by led, it must simply mean chucking them at the enemy. The basics of a dungeon were now in place. However, the brewery was puny and didn't really have room to store beer barrels in, and the treasury was also anything but impressive in size. Quickly, the expansion-hungry evil set out to enlarge its dungeon.
No więc, no. Właśnie ten gold.
The evil has awoken, but its brothers are still asleep.
Huh? What on earth was that? That's not in my script. What a weirdo. No matter. We'd better get back to concentrating on the dungeon.
A, wzmocnienie ścian. No ostatnie z możliwych żył, jakie możemy znaleźć złota na tej. A nie, jeszcze jest. A nie, trochę, bo tylko ten tam.
A huge monstrosity loomed out of the darkness on 8 legs. This dungeon's human guards had been ancient history for a long while. Now it was home to a huge spider and her brood. Would Sam and Frodo escape it and continue their journey to Mount Doom? Or was this the end of the ring bearer? Hang on a minute, that's not the right text. Oh yes, a huge spider, henceforth called the Spider Queen. It would be necessary to eliminate the Spider Queen before the horde could reach the surface. The Spider Queen sent forth a wave of her children. Of course, the ultimate evil was fully aware of this danger. The vile perversion, once called the Spider Queen, had nothing more with which she could fight the horde. Later, the sensitive evil would have her innards made into a lava lamp. The way to the surface was open. Now it was time to put those vengeance plans into practice.
Na tym głównie się stara, że budujemy bazę. Rozwijamy bardzo tak, najeżdżamy na
its physical state made this unviable.
Na świat na powierzchni.
To do a bit of sinister laughter on its behalf. Oh well, here goes. Deep breath.
No. Tak, i główny będzie wątek zemsty, jak odzyskania tej na naszej. Kolejnie będziemy mieli gobliny, potem mamy nagi. To bardziej to, bo gramy hordą. Do tym głównego. To dziękuję za odcinek bardziej retrospekcyjny. A już chciał, bo Robert, że musi spać. Tu mamy gobliny i ten warsztat i te
now king of the Alliance. He had withdrawn to the quiet surroundings of his hunting lodge. There, he would be the perfect victim.
Tak, mamy tu hordę, potem mamy demony właśnie jako albo horda, albo demony kończymy. Złym. Potem jest codziennie jeszcze na tego trzeciego odłamka absolutnego zła, które przetrwało, które bardziej umarłych. Tą całą historię. To dziękuję za oglądanie tego odcinka i do zobaczenia w kolejnym odcinku retro serii, albo w tym będą zmiany właśnie komputer będzie w przyszłym miesiącu, a będę miał nowe te sprzęty i tak. Zupełnie nie, bo podstawowe rzeczy pod użytek mam, a nie taki pod gaming. Nagrywanie może być krótka przerwa z tym, albo po prostu będę na laptopie sobie dogrywał odcinki z tego, co jestem w stanie dograć tam. No to tyle w tym odcinku i do zobaczenia w kolejnym już wkrótce. No, na razie.